Becoming the strongest version of yourself demands training your body with the same ferocity you train your mind. Miyamoto Musashi, Japan's deadliest swordsman and most profound philosopher, proved this truth in blood and ink. He stood undefeated in 60 duels, yet between clashes he composed haiku that still pierced the soul 4 centuries later. This man refused to split what nature fused, muscle and meditation, blade and brushstroke. True power, he showed the world, blooms only when you reject the lie that you must choose one or the other. Today you will uncover why you have lived at half capacity your entire life, and how to weld back together what society deliberately shattered. You will walk away with 5 lessons carved from the samurai path, each one a hidden key society buried so you would stay useful but never unstoppable. We begin with the programming that chained you before you could even walk. Every Saturday morning cartoon, every Hollywood blockbuster, every high school sitcom drilled the same caricature into your skull: the hulking, dim-witted jock and the scrawny, bespectacled nerd. This was never innocent entertainment. It was psychological architecture. From the moment you could hold a remote, you absorbed the gospel: muscles equal stupidity, intelligence equals frailty. You can be strong or smart, never both. The message repeated until it calcified into instinct. Society needed this fracture to function. They required citizens clever enough to code algorithms, file forms, and solve quarterly crises, but too physically fragile to question the cage. Smart enough to generate profit, weak enough to fear rebellion. So they sold you the cruelest efficiency myth in history. Every hour in the gym is an hour stolen from the mind. You swallowed it whole. We all did. Pause for 5 seconds and glance at actual history. The lie collapses like wet paper. In feudal Japan, a samurai who could not compose a death poem with the same hand that severed heads faced ritual disgrace. Their calligraphy had to flow with the lethal grace of their katana. One without the other branded a man incomplete. In ancient Greece, the philosophers you quote were forged in sweat. Plato, real name Aristocles, earned the nickname Broad for shoulders that pinned opponents in the pancration pit. Socrates, the gadfly of Athens, marched barefoot through 3 brutal campaigns, shield-locked, spear steady. Leonardo da Vinci, the polymath who sketched flying machines centuries early, could twist iron horseshoes into knots with his bare grip. His physical prowess was as legendary as his frescoes. This modern divorce between brain and brawn is barely a century old, a fleeting industrial aberration. For millennia before, incompleteness was the only defect a culture would not tolerate. Meet Broly, brilliant, sought after, the oracle everyone consulted when systems failed. Top of his domain, living proof that pure intellect pays dividends. Yet he treated anything physical as beneath him. Gyms were for meatheads, sports for those too simple to think their way out of problems. He wore his disdain like a medal. I don't need to be strong. I have a strong mind. He genuinely believed he was operating at peak capacity, that doubling down on cognition was the ultimate life hack. Every book devoured, every mental model mastered. This was the path to dominion. What he could not see was the invisible shackle. He fought life with one arm lashed behind his back. He thought he ran at 100%. In truth, he limped at 40. The missing 60 wasn't mere muscle, it was mental voltage locked inside a frail frame. Here's the secret nobody whispers: a weak body drapes a fog over the mind. This is not poetry, it is biochemistry. Low testosterone, chronic cortisol floods, sluggish cerebral blood flow. Your brain literally starves for oxygen. You imagine you protect genius by skipping the squat rack, you are throttling it. Picture the scene. You sit at your desk, lunch digested, coffee steaming, conditions perfect for deep work, yet focus evaporates. Restlessness claws at your spine. You blame caffeine, apps, playlists. Wrong. That agitation is your physiology screaming for motion. Hard training floods the brain with serotonin, dopamine, endorphins, the exact neurochemical cocktail that forges clarity and calm. 400 years ago, Musashi etched this truth into the Book of 5 Rings: the way is in training. Not thinking, not planning, training. Broly's reality was a slow-motion car crash. Anxiety gnawed him raw before every meeting. Heart hammering, palms slick, chest cinched tight. He carried revolutionary strategies that could reshape his company. Yet when the moment arrived, his voice cracked, hands trembled, his own flesh mutinied against his mind. The cruelest cut, he lost a career-defining promotion to a man with half his intellect, but twice his presence. The rival's ideas were pedestrian, yet he delivered them with granite posture and unshakable timbre. His body could cash the checks his mouth wrote. Physical frailty breeds overthinking. When the flesh cannot act, the mind spins endlessly. It breeds paralysis. Deep down, you know your frame will crumple under bold consequence. It births graveyards of brilliant plans that perish before first blood. All theory, no thrust. All map, no march. All potential, no power. One night, after another presentation imploded, Broly's friend slid the Book of Five Rings across the table. No lecture, just a single line scrawled inside the cover: "You're trying to win battles with half an army." The words landed like a katana to the sternum. He had waged daily war, armed only with neurons, while his body lounged AWOL. No wonder defeat was his shadow. That single line, "You're trying to win battles with half an army," did not just sting. It detonated inside Broly's chest like a claymore. For the first time, he felt the full weight of his self-betrayal, every brilliant insight orphaned, every vision stillborn because the vessel was too brittle to carry it. Musashi had lived the antidote. He did not drill sword forms in silk-lined dojos under perfumed lanterns. He vanished into limestone caves where moonlight barely reached, climbed knife-edged ridges in blizzards that flayed skin from bone, stood beneath glacial waterfalls until his heartbeat slowed to a funeral drum, then trained more. Not for vanity, not for glory, because a mind that conceives lightning must command a body that can survive the strike. Musashi forged himself into a single, unbreakable circuit. Thought, sinew, spirit fused. Broly decided to test the blade. Day 1 was crucifixion by gravity. 10 push-ups, he collapsed at 5, arms quivering like reeds in a typhoon. The man whose strategies saved multi-million-dollar contracts was publicly executed by his own body weight. Humiliation scalded his throat. Yet the moment he rolled onto his back, gasping, something alien stirred, a crystalline clarity that no all-nighter of reading had ever gifted him. The fog lifted. The mind did not feel drained, it felt charged. Physical exhaustion had not robbed mental energy, it had ignited it. By week 3, the shift was undeniable. Problems that once demanded hours of tortured looping now cracked open in minutes. Not because the puzzles shrank, his mind had grown teeth. The gym was teaching what libraries never could: how to stand inside pressure without fracturing. Under a loaded barbell, there is no negotiation, no committee, no excuse. Gravity is the ultimate honest broker. You lift or you are crushed. That merciless truth rewired his neurology. Every rep became a referendum on courage. Month 8 arrived like a revelation. Deadlifts did not merely sculpt his back, they taught him to shoulder burdens that would have paralyzed the old Broly. Squats did not just forge legs. They showed him how to rise when the world pinned him to the floor. The discipline to drag himself to the rack on days when despair whispered, "Stay in bed." That was the same iron will required to confront a hostile boardroom. The courage to add 5 more pounds after last week's set nearly tore him in half. That was the identical nerve needed to stake his career on an unproven vision. The humility of failing a rep, racking the bar in defeat, then returning at dawn, that was the exact resilience required to rebuild after public failure. The iron was not building muscle, it was forging character in real time. Musashi had discovered the algorithm centuries earlier: punish the body hard enough, and the mind must evolve to govern the chaos you are creating. Train only the mind, and it remains a brilliant ghost haunting a decaying house. Broly was no longer haunting anything. His thoughts now carried mass. His words landed with the thud of a warhammer. Colleagues who once dismissed him as the smart guy now felt an inexplicable gravity when he entered a room. They could not name it, but they leaned forward. Then came the deeper war, the one inside the skull. Every set, every rep, every heartbeat under strain became a duel with the ancient saboteur, the voice that hisses, "Quit, rest, you've done enough, no one's watching." In the gym, that voice is stripped naked. There is no hiding behind slides or spreadsheets. When your lungs burn and your quads scream, the voice becomes a banshee. But when you defeat it, when you grind out one more rep while every cell begs for mercy, you deal it a mortal wound. That victory is portable. It travels. The same voice appears when you must fire a failing friend, when you must bet the company on a hunch, when you must stand alone against a room full of suits. The gym is merely the dojo where you learn to slit its throat. By month 10, Broly was unrecognizable, not louder, not aggressive. Aggression is weakness in a cheap suit. He had become unshakable. Same IQ, same lexicon, same resume. But now it all rode on a chassis forged in fire. The harder his body labored, the purer his cognition became. Physical agony acted like a blast furnace, incinerating doubt, overanalysis, noise. Warrior monks intuited this millennia ago. They hauled boulders up sacred peaks not for hypertrophy, but because voluntary suffering is the fastest gateway to mental transcendence. They knelt beneath ice-water torrents until hypothermia clawed at consciousness, because when the body survives hell, the mind knows, beyond theory, beyond hope, that it can endure anything. Musashi lived this truth to its apex. Before his legendary duel with Sasaki Kojiro, Japan's most feared blade, Musashi arrived deliberately late. On the rocking boat, he carved a crude bokken from a spare oar. Longer, heavier, unbalanced. Kojiro wielded a finely balanced nodachi, the field cutter that had ended countless lives. Technique, reputation, pedigree, all favored Kojiro. Yet Musashi ended the fight in one heartbeat. The wooden oar became an extension of a body so powerful it turned clumsiness into dominance. Integration trumped specialization. The body did not support the mind, it was the mind made manifest. This is the secret they buried under a century of fluorescent cubicles. Your body is not a taxi for your brain. It is the physical resonance of your consciousness. Train it, and you literally rewire neural circuits. Shatter its limits and mental boundaries explode outward. Conquer its fear and courage becomes reflex. Broly was no longer theorizing power. He was embodying it. After a full year, Broly stood at the edge of the mirror and saw a stranger who terrified the old world. Same eyes, but now they held the stillness of deep water over steel. Same mouth, but words now left it like arrows fletched in bone. He had not added aggression, he had subtracted hesitation. The complete man had arrived, not by abandoning intellect, but by giving it a spine that would never bow. Miyamoto Musashi died undefeated at 61, yet his final decade was not spent counting victories. Those same hands that had severed 60 challengers now painted ink masterpieces that hang in Kyoto temples. Cranes in flight, Enzo circles drawn in one breath, mountains rising from mist. The warrior had become the artist without changing identity. He had simply removed the final illusion of separation. In his last letter, Dokudoyo, The Way of Walking Alone, he wrote, "In all things, have no preferences." The world misreads this as cold detachment. Wrong. It is a battle cry. Refuse the false menu. Do not choose mind or body. Do not choose warrior or poet. Do not choose destroyer or creator. Take the whole banquet or starve. Every ancient civilization understood this. Spartan kings recited Homer between shield walls. Viking skalds sang sagas with the same lungs that screamed across longships. Chinese scholar officials passed the imperial exams and the archery trials, ink in one hand, bow in the other. The division you inherited is a modern narcotic designed to keep you productive but never sovereign. A mind without muscle is a general without troops. A body without mind is a sword without a wielder. Either way, you lose the war before it begins. Count the corpses of your own potential. How many ideas lie in shallow graves because your voice shook when it mattered? How many doors stayed closed because your handshake felt like surrender? How many nights did you stare at the ceiling while anxiety rehearsed tomorrow's failures, failures your body had already voted for by staying soft? You call it normal. Musashi would call it dishonor. The samurai who neglected either blade or brush was ordered to seppuku. Today the sentence is quieter, a lifetime scrolling past opportunities you were too weak to seize. The choice is brutal in its simplicity. Dawn tomorrow, you can drag your carcass to the iron and begin the reunion, or you can remain a split soul, brilliant but breakable, forever wondering why your genius never changed the world. Musashi left the blueprint in blood, sweat, and ink. 60 duels, 1 philosophy, 0 defeats. The path is narrow, cold, and unforgiving, but it is real. Every rep, every sunrise run, every freezing shower is a vote for the version of you that society prayed would never exist. Your mind is a supernova trapped in wet paper. Your body is a dormant volcano. Ignite them together, and you become the rarest force on Earth, a complete human, calm enough to strategize empires, strong enough to defend them, creative enough to birth beauty, ruthless enough to protect it. The world needs this creature. The world fears this creature. That is why they taught you to choose sides. Thank you for walking this path with me. The next duel is yours.